Hey, welcome to Ken's Games Collection, and I've done it again. I bought more reproduction games from AliExpress. Let's talk about what I picked up this time. Okay, so as we look at these reproduction games that I bought, let's go back to where it all began for me with the Super Nintendo, and it was with Super Mario Brother. Now, there was a great import store here in my hometown of Brisbane back in the early 90s, and the guy there, his name was Andrew, had the Japanese Super Nintendo with some games, and Super Mario World was one of those games, and it was my first real experience of anything to do with Nintendo because I was always a massive Sega fan. So played that game, and that was it. I just couldn't wait to get my hands on the Super Nintendo when it did come out. So that's where it all began for me. For my whole journey with Nintendo was on the Super Nintendo with Super Mario World. So it's great to have this in the collection, and I have to say, when I got this from AliExpress, it was from a seller that I bought from a long time ago. When you go onto their actual AliExpress site, there is no games. You have to click on a special link to pay, I think $25, whatever it is, and you send them the game title that you want, and lo and behold, bang, it's all done. So I guess it's to do with licensing with Nintendo, maybe. But it's really weird to have to do that on AliExpress, but it is what it is. But it's great to have this one in the collection again. Now, this game, DME Fantasy, has always intrigued me since I started looking on AliExpress a couple of years ago, and I would go on Wikipedia to find out that it was a platform game released by Hudson Soft for the Super Famicom. Was only released in Japan. It is a sequel to a Nintendo 8-bit game, Millen's Secret Castles. So that was released on the NES. For some reason, they didn't release this sequel in the West. It would later go on to, I think it was the Virtual Console on the Wii back in 2008, but it was still Japanese text. So this particular version has been fan translated. So it's a really cool platforming game. And I just, this is the thing with these old Super Nintendo, even NES games. There was a lot of stuff out there back in the late 80s, early 90s that I would see in magazines, particularly Japanese magazines. I couldn't read any of it, but I could look at the all the artwork and stuff, and it was like, wow, that looks really cool. This one looks great. We never saw them come to the West. Here we are 30 years later with ROM hacks where people actually take the time, their own time, to translate these games, and I really appreciate this sort of stuff happening, and it does give us a great reason to get these reproduction games. It's a great way to experience a lot of this stuff for the first time 30 years later. This was an interesting one that I saw on AliExpress, and it's called Hyper Metroid. So it's a ROM hack of Super Metroid. They've gone in there, reworked the story, changed things up. It plays, if I dare I say, it plays better than Super Metroid. I just love the things that they did in this game. I only played about an hour so far of it, but what I've seen, I'm really liking, and it just shows how amazing the ROM hack community is out there and how active they are even today. I can go onto different websites and see stuff that's still being worked on. I know Nintendo doesn't like this sort of stuff, but it's out there, it serves a purpose, and it breathes new life into a great franchise, I feel, all these years later. And this was another reason why I got the Super Nintendo, was for the Super Metroid game. I thought that was a brilliant game. Never experienced anything like that before. And it was just fantastic. The late 80s and early 90s I consider to be the golden era of RPGs. I played a lot of RPGs on the Sega Master System, then on the Mega Drive, and then when I finally did get the Super Nintendo, I would play games like this one, Chrono Trigger. It was a brilliant game. It's been a long time since I played it. I sat down and had a bit of a look at it, and I'm like, man, I've got to go back to this one and experience it for like the second time, but 30 years later. There's a lot of, it doesn't click with me anymore. It was a long time ago I played it, and I played the crap out of this game. I remember that. It was just brilliant. And it was one of the few times that we would get a game from Square over here in the PAL territory. Now, interesting, we didn't get any of the Final Fantasy games over here, so you will see at some stage I will be picking up Final Fantasy games that have been translated or fixed to work on the PAL machine. So I'm really looking forward to doing that, because back in the day I would get those games from America. But as you can see, this is top quality reproduction games that I've been buying. There's a lot of sellers out there on AliExpress. They're doing a shitty job, to be quite honest with you, the stuff that I've seen. And I'm very particular about who I buy from on AliExpress, and I will continue buying from the same sellers. Mainly because I trust in the workmanship that they put into these particular reproduction games. Now, as I said, I played a lot of RPGs back in the day. I did play Lagoon. I have no memory whatsoever of it, but I know I had it in the collection and I played it. Very hard for me to talk about how great this game was. I've got to sit down one day and give it a go again. But when I saw it on AliExpress, I thought, I guess this time it was like I wanted to get a lot of RPGs back in the collection. Early on, when I was buying from AliExpress, I was buying action games like Batman Returns, Legend of Mystical Ninja, ActRaiser 1 and 2, Castlevania 4, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, all that sort of stuff. And this time around, I made a conscious decision. I want to get the RPGs back in the collection. And there's still more out there I want to get. And experience them all again all these years later. Okay, Secret of Mana, fantastic game. Still remember it, but look at this box art. It's oversaturated with the green, and it's really disappointing. When I opened the box and saw what was inside, I was loving all this other stuff. I was saying, this looks great, fantastic. And this is not what I remember of the cover art of the box for Secret of Mana. Now, I got to realize that these games are like 30 years old plus, so I don't know where they're getting these scans from, but there's sometimes you get some really good scans, and other times you get stuff like this, and you just got to live with it. Just appreciate the fact that we can get these reproduction games completely boxed, but I just wish if the artwork would have been more faithful to the original box. Now, there is somebody out there that's taken these scans and reworking them, even starting from scratch. So hopefully at some stage during 2024, I'll be doing a video on that. So watch this space there. Now, this cover art looks way better than Secret of Mana. So this is Secret of Mana 2. It was never released here in the West. I don't know why. I think I was looking it up or watching another YouTube video, and for some reason, the European and the North American regions decided that they didn't want it. They passed up on this one, like so many other games, and it just was so bizarre to see this sort of stuff happening. So thank God for another fan-translated ROM hack, so I can experience this game for the first time, and I just love the cover art. I did watch a documentary on somebody's channel about the history of this game and the first one. It's really interesting to see that sort of stuff. I'll try and find the video, and I'll leave a link down below for that. It's just so great to watch this sort of stuff. So finally, Secret of Mana 2 was fan patched, English translation, so another reason to get these reproduction games. Okay, so this was one game I wanted to get back in my Super Nintendo collection, known as Sparkster, but also on the Mega Drive and Genesis for us, at least here in Australia, it was known as Rocket Knight Adventures, a great platforming game by Konami. Yeah, that's how I pronounce them. Back in the day, they made so many amazing games for the Super Nintendo, and they were my go-to for a lot of great gaming experiences. So it's great to have this one in the collection. And I think as I'm filming this video on limited run games, Rocket Knight Adventures is showing up there. So check it out and wait 12 months for the game to be released or sent out to you. crazy, hey? But yeah, great platforming game. The Fireman. Now, this is really interesting. It's an action video game developed by Human Entertainment for the Super Nintendo, and it was released back in Japan in 1994. Then in 1995, it was released in Europe and Australia. For some reason, it didn't get released in North America, which is crazy. In this game, you play as a fireman who's putting out fires and saving civilians. The sequel was actually released on the PlayStation and known as Fireman 2 Pete and Danny, but I don't remember that title at all. But this was a great game with a cool little storyline and some great gameplay. So for the life of me, I just do not understand why the Fireman was not released in North America. It just doesn't make sense to me, because it was a great game, and again, a great reason to have a ROM hack of this one. It was a fantastic game, and I was so happy when I did see this on AliExpress. Immediately I thought of it, and I thought, man, this was a fantastic game. I wanted to get it, so I've got it. So if you're interested in it, I think there is a North American version of this on some of the AliExpress websites, so I will leave a link down below for that. Check out some gameplay video. It's a fantastic game. Okay, so that's what I picked up over the last couple months from AliExpress. I've got a full shelf of SNES games now, but there's still games out there that I want to pick up for this collection, and it's going to go on to a second shelf, unfortunately. Also, I bought games like Secret of Mana 2 I've never owned before, and there's other stuff out there that I want. So I will continue to search in 2024 for what hopefully will be completing what I want for the SNES. Great system, and it's just so good to be able to get them back in the collection, even though they're not the originals. I can't afford to pay $600 for a game, $700 upwards. It's just ridiculous. I'm very happy to go down the path I am with reproduction games, just so they're in the collection and I can play them whenever I want without paying the ridiculous prices. So thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you next time, guys. Bye.